G'day gang. Well, we've got less than a week until our next event at Winton, which I'm really excited about. It's the first time I'm going to be out on track with this guy with the new suspension on a full-size track. Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm super pumped. And we've got a bunch of mates coming too. Remember my mate Ben Rees with the green S14 with the LS2 in it that we had in one of the previous episodes. We've got my mate Trav, who we met in one of the very early episodes where he took us for a ride in the BMW 7 Series. He's bringing down his beams-powered E30, which would be very cool. And my friend Tara, which you remember from the Haunted Hills drive day. So she came along with us and took a lot of the cool photos that you see on Facebook. So yeah, really excited. Also my mate Kempy, who you'll know from a few videos with his luscious beard, he'll be along for the ride too. So it's gonna be a wicked day. Anyway, one of the things I really want to do before then is fit these guys, the 3D printed brake ducts that I actually make. So this is made out of, this is printed out of PETG, which is a very similar compound to the PET bottles, but a lot stronger. Yeah, it took me a long time to design these. They're, they fit in the stock fog light hole, which is really handy. We've got it in these cars, by the way. I mean, it's the perfect position to suck air in to cool the brakes down. And even though it looks like a simple shape, none of that actually is very simple at all, especially the mounting holes. So this took probably a good month of trial and error to get right. But now the beauty of it is they pretty much slot in and bolt exactly in the slot there. No faffing around, no gluing or anything. I even supply the hardware, which we can find here. Nice little cap head bolts, washers and lock nuts. Actually, these are the old ones. The new ones are even black to, you know, for that extra stealth look. Hoops cool. So yeah, now I'm finally, even though I've been making these and they're on probably a good 70 cars in Australia, I'm finally putting them on my car. So I had some dummy ones in there. They were the test set, but they were never hooked up. And these ones are the ones that are actually going to go in the car. So I make them with different outlet sizes. So that's obviously the inlet where the air comes in. That's the outlet. And we've got, I make them in a 64 mil, holy crap, 76 mil and an 80 mil. I'm going to go with the 64 mil, so that's the size of the piping we use. This is a ducting piping, so it's silicone with a steel wrap around it, so it can bend without actually crushing the pipe, if that makes sense. Obviously, it's heat resistant, and you can buy this from race car shops, and it's pretty expensive. I got it on eBay for 20 bucks, whatever. It's not a Formula One car. We're not getting brake temperatures up around the 800 degree mark. We're barely, and we're not actually touching the brakes anyway. So this will be just fine. And we only need that little bit of movement for the suspension to move up and down. The rest of it is going to be static the rest of the time. So yeah, basically what we need to do now is we need to route the piping through. I want to jack the car up and actually put the stands, the vehicle stands, under the swingy arms, under the suspension arms, the wishbones. And then lower the car down so it's like the car's on its wheels, does that make sense? So the weight of the jacks is simulating the wheels, but we can actually turn the wheels because they're off the ground to make sure the wheels don't hit the piping or anything else, because there's not much room in there, it's pretty tight. So let's jack this puppy up and get it on the stands and we'll get going with fitting these guys. Okay, car is jacked up. Now, next thing we need to do is figure out how to route these pipes. So obviously, our piping goes in through here, connects to the back of the duct. And if you see in here, we've still got our plastic cover on for the wheel arch. I'm not adverse to leaving that there. I don't think it's a bad thing to have. So what I'll do is, this is the problem we kind of face, is I need the pipe to end up here. So it points at the brake, but I can't have it hitting the drive shaft. And when I turn the wheel in, see if I can try and do it with the camera on there. I need to make sure the wheel doesn't hit the pipe as well, which is why we've got it jacked up on the stands. Oh God, come back. So we can see if the wheel's gonna hit it. The next thing we need to do is somehow support the pipe while it's hanging here. We do have the gearbox there and there's a few bolts we can kind of maybe make a bracket and sort of attach the bracket to. The other option is up here, we've got the chassis with a bit of a lip. So I might be able to just drill and drop a steel bracket down. And then what I got is just these pipe loops from Bunnings. I think these are the right ones. We'll just grab one of the other ones out. I've been bending and playing around with these. No, it's gonna be that one, there we go. So they're just these things. Terrible in white, but we'll spray in black. and they are the size of the pipe. So basically we can sit the pipe in there and then just clamp it to our bracket. So with any luck, because we need the pipe to not rattle around, hit the tyre or anything like that. So we can make a bracket. Oh shit, point the camera, Matt. Make a bracket and then hopefully hang it kind of there and keep the pipe out of the way, if that makes sense. This is the easy side. The hard side is over here because we have all the belts for the engine. So in here you can see we've got the main pulley, the main bottom pulley. So we need to make sure our pipe doesn't hit that. I don't think it's going to be an issue because once again, we'll use one of these brackets and we'll hang it there. And I've got some good steel, so it should be strong enough not to flap around and touch our bottom pulley. But once again, we need to make sure that when this wheel comes in, it doesn't hit the pipe. So yeah, good times. So I think first thing is let's get cutting with this. Probably have to take the wheels off, but we'll cut that out. We'll stick in our beautiful brake ducts and see how it all fits. Okay, I didn't bother showing you all the cutting, but I've just cut that slot there now and just popped this back in place. It's got the whole bar sticking out. Just want to make sure that fits. And that's actually fitting in there nice and snug because I want this plastic bit to be kind of a holder as well. So cool, we'll attach the front, I think, and we'll swing this down here and, I don't know, wing it. Okay, so that's all bolted in and that's good. Just a little side note for anyone who buys these from me, make sure you don't crank these bolts super tight because you do have the lock nut in the back so you don't have much feel for it. Just bear in mind, this is just a bit of plastic, so if you crank it up, it will crack. I haven't had that problem, but I just thought maybe it might be a problem. So we can see our pipe in there, it's all connected up, it's all good. We've fed it through and that's poking out the little hole there, which is all secured and all tapped in now. So looking at this, I don't think it should be too bad. The bit I don't like about this whole process is how it connects to the swinging arm. Basically, you just strap it to this bottom arm here, the wishbone. Sorry, I come from a motorbike background, I always say swinging arm. I've got some metal cable ties. Oh, let me just grab them over here. I got these guys. So they're stainless steel cable ties. So I'm gonna use them to strap it there. I did have a crack at 3D printing something a bit nicer, like one that contours here and holds it all in. It just kind of didn't work. It's too tight there, and any sort of extra material other than the pipe just either hits the drive shaft, hits the brakes, hits everything. It's really tight, it sucks. So I think what we need to do is basically, we're gonna bend the pipe round. So the only movement the pipe's gonna have is as the suspension goes up and down like that, which just means that the lower blade there is gonna have to bend. That should not be a problem. Yes, it'll wear out eventually, but I'd suggest a lot more is gonna wear out or break on this car before that does, so it's not really a big issue. And then we've just got, as we said, we've got our little clamp there, and I think once that's all strapped, it'll probably sit around sort of here. So I'll just drill that, and I'll just drop a bracket down, maybe even do two, like two there, and just do two brackets that come down and both bolt to that to just keep it nice and stable. And I think that'll hold it really nicely. So I guess the next step is to cut this, which is the scary part, because obviously if If you cut it wrong, you can't uncut things. Okay, so I've been poking around under here, figuring all this out. It's really tight. This is why I remember. Probably why I've been putting it off actually, because it sucks. Okay, so I've got a couple of these brackets. So what I'm gonna do is I need to make the pipe basically come out and down kind of level with the sump. Because when we put this sucker on full lock, and yes, I know it's very rare I'd need full lock on a track, and I probably wouldn't, but I'd still rather it didn't rub on full lock. It's very close. So if I make a little bracket here, and just off of here, if you can see my finger, and I'll clamp that up, that'll keep the pipe going in the general direction, and then I'll have the pipe over here. I'm going to do another bracket somewhere to attach that, and that'll keep it all in line, and then I can just attach it to the swinging arm. So I'm going to cut some brackets now. I'll cut this first one, get it in line, and then see what we need to do after that. Okay, here's where we're at. So I've got a hole drilled here. I've got my bolt ready. I've bent up and drilled a little bracket, which I've just painted because it was raw metal and I don't want it to rust. So I've just got a little bracket there, and that will hold the first section of the pipe. And yeah, that's the first bit. So basically it holds it kind of down here, which is good. And then the next one, we're going to figure out where to bolt it to. There's actually this mount here on the engine, this hole that's not being used, so I might try and use that. Two brackets there. I think that was where the air conditioning was bolted on, but obviously we're not using that anymore. So I'm going to see if I can find a little bolt in there, and that'll be perfect for our next bracket. Sorry for not filming a lot on this, guys. I am pushed for time today, and I'm trying to do you a video so you can see all this, but at the same time, I need to get this sucker ready. Anyway, we've got ourselves that bracket in there, all bolted up. I've got nylock nuts on the back, so they're not going to come loose and it's flap around and hit pulleys and all sorts of fun things. That's in there really cool. That's really tight, and I've used a good steel bracket too. It's not alloy. I had some alloy, but I just feel it's going to bend and do all sorts of shit. So, sweet. I have found a bolt that fits in the old air conditioning bracket hole. And, oh God, let's try and do this while filming with the camera. It's going to be hard. It'll sit, oh Jesus. It's going to sit basically next to the sump, and we're going to do a bracket that's going to join up to that, and then we can bolt it down here. Sweet. So we've got a front bracket in there, and we've got our back bracket in there, bolted on the onto the block. There's quite a bit of gap. I can get a whole finger in there, and it doesn't really move around much. I can always try and straighten it up a bit more, but I think once the pipe is up, it tends to move away from the pulley anyway. So now what we're going to do is just figure out how big we need this pipe. I think we're going to cut quite a bit off. The way I'm going to figure that out is put the wheel back on and see the clearance, and then we can cut this and we can do some metal cable ties. This part was a lot harder than I expected. I thought this would be the easy bit. So trying to keep this pipe on here is tricky, because if you just wrap a big cable tie around, it always wants to slip up, and then it's in the way of the drive shaft. So what I've done is I got the Dremel, and I Dremeled in these little slots to keep these cable ties here, because the thinner part of the arm's here, so they always slide down. So with those notches, they can't move, and I've done them up nice and tight. And now, hopefully, I should be able to mount that there, and then I can run the metal tie around, basically through that, and then around the pipe. And because it's locked there, it can't slip up. Hopefully that'll keep the pipe in the right spot. Like the most it'll go is up here. Fingers crossed, let's do it and see what happens. Okay, I don't want to do them up super tight because I'll crush the pipe, but that seems pretty rigid to me. It's not moving. I am happy with that, and that's the line of where the brake and everything goes. So if we crank that around, the bottom of a brake caliper will fit in there, but it won't get in the way. Now look, in an ideal world, really what we'd have is the backing plate cut hose attached, all that sort of stuff. Probably a bit out of my depth engineering wise, and I'm pretty sure we've got to have a gap of something like 10 mil from the brake to the ducting. It's in the rules somewhere. Either way, I'm pretty happy with that. That seems pretty rigid. It's out the way. That's actually nice and firm now. If we can see that. It's out the way of our bottom pulley, and it's all fitting pretty nicely. Seems solid. I'm happy with that. And all that pipe has to do now is just move. It'll stay still there and move up and down here. I think we've done it. Onto a winner. These metal tyres are wicked. You can just fold. They grip really well, and they're infinitely grip too. They're not like a ladder like a normal cable tie. So yeah, we can just bend them back. I'll cut them off and maybe just a bit of tape or something around there just to keep them all neat. But they're really cool. Okay, purely as a gimmick, look what I found in the garage. A leaf blower. And look what I had in my camera bag for flying my drone. An animator that tells us wind speed. See there, it's how many meters a second. Purely curiosity-wise, I'm going to turn it on, measure the wind speed at the front of the car, and now I'm going to measure the wind speed coming out of our brake duct and see how much air is actually coming through the duct. I'm going to leave my wireless microphone here because it's going to be way too loud for it and it's going to yell and scream and hate life. So we'll put it up there and yeah, let's give it a go. So about 5.6 at the front of the car. Holy crap, that thing's loud. So yeah, that worked out about 5.6 meters a second at the front of the car and about 4 meters a second coming out the duct. So that's actually pretty good. I mean, yeah, it's kind of pointed at the duct, but so's wind when I'm coming down the straight. That's a fair bit of airflow. That's not a bad drop off. I was expecting sort of like half the air to come in, but that's a much better ratio. So anyway, that wasn't scientific. That was just a gimmick, just to try things and see how it worked, and I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway, we'll get rid of all that and we'll do our passenger side now. So I kind of blazed through this section as I just need to get it done. I've got other things I need to do today. But same deal really. I cut the hole through the guard there, and I've got a little bracket just holding there. I've got a longer bracket holding there. Much easier this side because it's just the end of the gearbox. I don't have the pulley. And then we did our little notches in the bottom swinging arm and our clamps, and that's sitting there really nicely. So I'm just going to put the wheel on and make sure everything's clearing. But apart from that, that is our brake ducts done. Okay, I tried the wheel on and it is hitting badly here. So what I'm gonna have to do is just make a longer bracket for this section and just drop the pipe and cut this out a bit and just drop the pipe down sort of under the gearbox a bit more, and that should make it clear. So we'll bend that up and see if that fixes the problem. And we're done. I did a bit of jiggery pokery, oh God, under here. And so I moved this bracket over. Unfortunately, the pipe's a little shorter than I want, but it's still pretty good. And now, if we put the wheel on full lock, see there, it clears the pipe. It's all good. If We have a look over this side at the other wheel. Oh God, come on, go. Get a foot in there. And that's on full lock there. And that's not rubbing at all. So we have 2 brake ducts that are all plumbed in. Look at my stellar paint job. Look how long that's lasting. I'm gonna have to touch that up. But 2 brake ducts, they're working great and all ready for our trip to Winton next weekend. Great success. I got a couple more things I want to do before the weekend, so hopefully I'll get another video out to you then. If not, next time you see me, we'll be at the track. So cheers for watching, and hopefully that gives you some indication of what to do if you want to install those brake ducts. It's a pain in the ass, but you can make it work. So cool, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.